Welcome to the Seasons of Singleness podcast. I am your hostess with the mostest, Tiffany Sneedrose. Seasons of Singleness. Seasons of Singleness. Hey y'all, and welcome back to another episode of Seasons. Child, I don't forgot the motherfucking name. How, Sway? How? Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Seasons of Singleness, the podcast uncensored with your host Tiffany Sneedrose. Tippy too, if you're nasty. I can't. I can't wait, child. Okay. Recap of where we left off. I spent a lot of time on a nigga couch. Spent a lot of time in his bed, but if you would have told me that my relationship would have ended and it would have been with me on a man's couch, I would have laughed at you. It's no fucking way. No way. None. Like, none of that made sense to me. Not me. Me? I am somebody's wifey. Like, I am not couch potato. The hell? Like, no. A couch. What do you do that? But it was what it was, and it may do for what it may do for. I really do appreciate to this day. Like, thank you for I am grateful for the couch moments because now I got a new couch. And I choose to sleep on it if I want to. But today, I'm using it for podcasting. Life just works out. You really just need to think about the great things, even in the midst of your turmoil. Like, really think about, okay, this is something that is going to serve me later. And it will, it will. And I thank God for the lessons, honestly. I needed it. I absolutely needed it. And, even with my walk with Jesus now, right? I didn't know that I needed him per se. Like, I needed God to help step into this situation to help me figure things out. I went to my friends. Like anybody would, right? So even in the midst, like when things were going really, really bad or whatever, I would always talk to my friends. I specifically remember always having conversations with at least 3 people. It was my homegirl, Ken, when we were in school specifically because she already knew, like, they had their own relationship prior. They were cool. Yeah, so it was like, all right, I can talk to this person because you know how he is or you've known him before, so I can have conversations with you to just say, like, hey, this is how I feel and I trust your opinion when you give it to me. She was very, again, wise beyond her years as well. I think that's just like a Scorpio trait, but we'll let your other signs have it. But yeah, Kenya, and then my homeboy Anthony, or Ant, and they knew each other too. I don't know if they were like super, super cool. But yeah, he was like that guy perspective. He was like, he acted as my big brother. And still to this day, we aren't as close as we used to be. Life, kind of moved you around, but he was definitely like the big brother that I didn't necessarily need. Or that I didn't know I needed. I'm sorry, I fucked that up. I need you if you see this, bro. I need you still to this day. But yeah, I didn't know that I needed him in those moments. So I would talk to him and he's just like talking me off a ledge, honestly. I needed that male perspective in my life. And then my best friend. Now, fun facts. In season one, I talked to my best friend. She was actually an interviewee. Is that the word? Sis was a guest. Sis was a guest. And as a guest on the show, she like I ain't like that angle. I say all the time, like, sis was in the midst, like literally in the middle with me. Like, and I say that not like to be playing or to be fucking around. She was really in the midst. It was two of us on that sectional. Two of us. We both stayed on that motherfucking couch. So yeah, like I talked about it in like one of the first fewer episodes of this season when we were like the three amigos. We literally were like we did everything together, and it wasn't like no third wheel shit, if that makes sense. Like it just we just I don't know. I kind of pride myself in not making people feel left out. So I would hope. I mean, if she say otherwise, then that's what she say. I know for me particularly, when it comes to engaging with people, I really try to help people fit in or be included and be a part of the experience that we're all experiencing at the same time. So even with that, like it was just us. It was us, and we made it work. We made it work. We were in the process of trying to find a place for us to live in together, and that didn't necessarily happen. I remember her being like extremely pissed because I wasn't working on my credit. Um, yeah, and I'm like, all right, I'll figure it out. We got it. We gonna do the damn thing. But we were like touring places and looking for apartments and all this other extra stuff. But all of that to say, like, I thought about us in that situation and how we were both really just comfortable with just being there. Um, and even with like recanting certain parts in the interview that we did together, um, we, for those of us in relationships, we don't necessarily like I watch a lot of like 90s movies because I'm in love with the 90s era. Like I am a product of the 90s era. And I think it's one of the best eras that is out there. It was so authentic, um, untainted. We saw a lot of shit in the eras before us, and then we decided to change some shit. And boom, 2000s, and here we are. But yeah, the 90s was a good time. But I watch a lot of 90s movies and I notice how like they'll sit and they'll talk about like with their friends, like, oh, I think I found the one. I think I did da da da. Like I like this person. I'm excited about being around this person. How should I move? Whatever, whatever. And for whatever reason, we don't do that no more. Or I don't know. We don't typically do that no more. What happens is we'll get into relationships and we might talk about like, oh, I found this person or I'm dating this person, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I've found the person whom I like or yada yada yada, and then we'll get into relationships and we don't necessarily talk about the relationship. We'll talk about the fucked up moments or stuff that I'm pissed about or whatever. So we continuously bring this to our friends, our friends, our friends, our friends. And instead of just talking about the great things that happen in the relationship, we're always so focused on the negative. So in turn, our friends are gonna be focused on the negative too. So when it was time for me to like break up and do whatever, like now I'm moving on, right? I leaned in to my friendships. Um and a lot of times like those conversations came up about like how am I doing? How am I handling things? Yada yada yada. And it's like I am good. Knowing that I fucking wasn't because I didn't process like things happened so quickly. I was so hell-bent on doing things because I thought that I would feel better without even like considering, or without not even considering, without even rectifying like what I was feeling in the first place, not even reflecting on it, like not calling it out, not figuring it out, because I didn't know at that time like what I was feeling. I just thought, I don't want to be here, or I don't want to be in this, so let me get out of this. And it wasn't necessarily that I didn't want to be in the relationship, or I didn't want relationship, period. It was just like, I've been through X, Y, and Z. I don't fucking feel like dealing with X, Y, and Z anymore. But I didn't know what, like, even saying that, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what I was feeling in that moment. Like, I didn't know what that feeling was. What didn't I want to experience anymore? I couldn't call certain things out. So instead, I leaned into my friends. What the hell are my friends doing? We outside. At that time, I had joined like a drinking fraternity. And I was the oldest person there. I ain't that much older than the folks that I typically frequent with, but a lot of times, like, my life at that time was work. That's all I had. I was running after school programs, running summer programs, and the staff that I had assigned to me, like, we became very close knit. All of my teams were very close knit. Just making sure that, like, people felt comfortable ultimately. Being there, being with me, comfortable with what I said, or what, like, whatever. Because it wasn't too much that I could fucking say or do. You either gonna come to work or you ain't. You either gonna do your job or you ain't. But just really making people feel comfortable ultimately. So in that, doing that and being it, I built a lot of bonds with people that I work with. So I leaned in on work. I remember just leaning in to those folks, and then creating new bonds with other people through those bonds. I spent my time a lot on Morgan's campus, and I didn't go to Morgan.
Doesn't even go here.
I can go to homecoming and be real comfortable around a whole bunch of folks that I don't fucking know, because I just used to frequent the campus all the time. But yeah, it was cool. Like, I did what I needed to do in order to diminish my feelings, in order to really feel comfortable with where I currently was. And I didn't necessarily know like what or where I was, if that makes sense. I didn't know what space I was in. My friends couldn't help me either. And the only thing that they had to offer me was going out, was being fucked up, was, oh, let's run from this in this way. Not fully understanding me anyway, because again, if I'm not the problem, there is no solution. With me fully understanding or not fully understanding that, me running from my issue is not helping the issue. Like, they don't know that. They don't know that either. We all just fly by night out here. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with being fly by night, because that's how, again, you learn. Like, you take those scenarios, you take those experiences, and you run with that. You run with it. You make something out of it. Like people say, life gives you lemons, so you make lemonade. Yeah, you make your lemonade. Make your lemonade, baby. But that comes with lessons, that comes with experience. So again, like, we are all just trying to figure it out. But when it comes to yourself and you figuring out what you need to figure out for you, it's different. You cannot lean into other people, because people are only going to give you what they got. And if they ain't got much either, what the hell? You can't expect much.
Because I spit hot fire.
And it's not to say anything about those folks that I leaned into during that time. Again, like, we're all just figuring it out. I'm trying to go to my best friend about some shit, and we both on the same fucking couch, looking at each other, looking fucking crazy. it was what it was, man. It was what it was. I can honestly say I had a time. I had a time, baby. I lived a life. Okay. And in the midst of living life, I learned some lessons. I learned some lessons, but it did not come short of headache, heartache, and baby, and some fucking tussles.